So recently, it feels like almost every top credit card has been getting hit with negative updates, like the increased $795 annual fee on the Chase Sapphire Reserve, which got a bunch of new coupon book credits as well, along with slashed airport lounge access benefits on the Capital One Venture X, and a confirmed upcoming refresh of the American Express Platinum card. Now, changes like these are nothing new in the world of credit cards, but when all these updates and devaluations happen in such a short period of time, the real problem kind of feels like something that some people might call credit card fatigue. Basically, credit card fatigue to me is almost like when the perceived value that you're getting from these cards feels like it's decreasing, while at the same time, not only is the actual cost you're paying increasing, but the amount of time, effort, and energy that you're putting into managing these cards feels like it's increasing as well. So in this video, I want to address this undeniable problem that many premium credit cards are facing right now and explain why we're seeing all these negative changes happening. But then more importantly, I also want to talk about how to actually fight back against these changes, as well as what I'm personally doing to focus more of my credit card strategy on sort of simplifying things while still getting maximum value back from all my spending. All right, so to start things off here, let's talk about why all these credit card issuers are switching things up with their most popular cards lately, and you might be able to break down their main reason for doing this into one word, which is profitability. There's a really interesting article from the website View from the Wing that I'll link to down below about what potentially went on with the recent relaunch of the Sapphire Reserve, and in the article, what they talk about was how the old version of this card was successful with attracting young, affluent cardholders, even though the card itself wasn't really too profitable for Chase. Now, credit card issuers can sometimes strategically position certain products as loss leaders that might actually lose some money in the short term, while then bringing in other business that makes them more money. But I think that after a long enough time period of a credit card losing money, eventually the issuer is going to want to make some adjustments to go more towards the direction of profitability. Now, to understand how they might go about doing this, to give us some clues about what's going on behind the scenes with all these recent updates, we have to talk about the three main revenue drivers for these issuers. Number one, there's fees that cardholders pay, which can include annual fees, late payment fees, and stuff like that. Number two, there's interchange, which is actually just like another fee of around 1 to 3% of each transaction that merchants end up paying issuers and payment networks, so that way they can accept credit cards. And then number three, there's interest, which is what cardholders who carry a balance from month to month are going to end up paying for borrowing that money and then not paying it back right away. However, as many of you know, if you watch my channel, that interest revenue can be avoided entirely by simply just paying off your credit card statement balance in full every single month before the payment due date. And so when you think about the types of people that issuers are targeting to use their top premium credit cards, you can actually start to make some educated guesses about what revenue sources might not be so great. For example, credit cards like the Sapphire Reserve, the Venture X, and the Amex Platinum, these are all going to be targeted towards customers that have higher credit scores and higher incomes on average, so they may be more likely to be in the habit of paying off these specific cards in full while also having the income to then sustain that habit over time. That means potentially less interest revenue for the credit card companies, which again was just one of those three main sources, but that might be fine if the revenue from interchange and other fees is high enough. However, looking at interchange on these high-end cards specifically, depending on the credit card and depending on the spending multipliers it offers, issuers might be able to see that they may have been paying out too much in points relative to those interchange fees, which is not going to be sustainable for the long term. So if we take a look at the Sapphire Reserve, one of the biggest changes that actually just happened when Chase decided to refresh this card is that the 3x points multiplier that was going to be earned when booking all travel is gone now, and instead that was replaced with a 4x multiplier on flights and hotel stays booked directly. I know that might sound like an upgrade on the surface to some people, and I'm sure it's going to be marketed as an upgrade, but for most existing Sapphire Reserve cardholders, I would say this is actually pretty much a downgrade because now they're going to be no longer able to earn 3x back on other areas of travel spend, including cruises, parking, tolls, trains, and a bunch of other stuff. So by getting rid of that 3x multiplier on all travel, sure, there's still going to be some optimizers out there who get more value with the 4x multiplier, but Chase knows there's also going to be a lot more of the general population that's still going to continue using this card for other travel stuff that now goes down to only earning 1x back. Long story short, but Chase was probably paying out too much in points across several different category multipliers on the Reserve card, which was offsetting interchange revenue too much. So by cutting back on the points that they're giving out in the travel category and then sort of also shifting the card to be more of a travel and a lifestyle product with some other updates, now they're likely much better positioned to be more profitable in relation to interchange fees. But then that's going to lead us to the revenue from other fees, which is the third main revenue driver on premium credit cards. And this whole part of the credit card business is really what's so important here when it comes to actually understanding all these changes and then developing a plan to fight back against all this stuff, which I'm going to talk about in just a minute. Before we get to that though, if any of this stuff about credit cards sounds confusing, then make sure you subscribe to my free newsletter called Wiser Wallet, which was previously called Braun's Wallet. With that newsletter, our mission is to help people optimize their everyday finances, save money, and live life to the fullest through travel and experiences that fit their budget. So to do that, we send out weekly emails with current current deals on how to redeem points and miles, along with a whole bunch of other different trending news to make you wiser about your wallet. Again, that newsletter is completely free, and when you go ahead and sign up using the link down below, we're going to go and add you to our list and also give you a complimentary 7-day email course on Points and Miles 101 to say thank you. So make sure to go ahead and check that out at the link down below. Now, recently, the common trend on premium credit cards seems to be to increase annual fees roughly every 4 years, while also adding a whole bunch of other new credits to hopefully justify the higher cost. And we've really seen Amex pioneer this trend on products like their Platinum and Gold cards, with the last updates to those coming in 2021 and 2024 respectively. Doing this accomplishes two things. First, it obviously collects higher annual fee revenue at the start of each cardholder's anniversary year, but then second, it also allows the issuer to then retain more of the annual fee revenue as profit, partly because of that higher fee and partly because many of the credits they're paying out to customers are going to be from partners who then help to fund a lot of this stuff. Just look at the credits from brands like Dunkin', Uber, Hulu, Saks Fifth Avenue, and more that we're seeing from Amex, and then credits from brands like StubHub, Apple, Lyft, and Peloton that we're seeing from Chase. So all those credits could give some people out their value, but it doesn't really cost the issuer that much to offer them because they're basically just going to be like another form of marketing from those brands that they get to do by partnering with these credit card issuers. Brands and issuers also know there's going to be high levels of breakage on these credits, or in other words, high levels of unused credits, which is good for the issuers. So yeah, even though there are some good general travel or dining credits on certain cards, the branded credits here are going to be a clever trend that I think we're going to continue seeing from issuers. All right, so now how do you actually fight back against all these changes that are happening right now and probably will continue to happen into the future? So number one, I would say to always make sure with any credit card you're getting, you got to run your numbers and know your options. Basically, you want to sort of tune out the noise from other people out there on the internet, including me, and you really just got to focus on understanding these new card updates within the context of your own normal spending habits. So if you're an existing cardholder on a credit card that's going through a refresh, you need to calculate what's called your effective annual fee before any changes were made to that card, and then you want to make sure you go ahead and run the numbers again after those changes go into effect. If your effective annual fee is going up, then the changes are probably bad for you. But if your effective annual fee is going down, then you might actually be able to benefit from these changes, even if most other people out there are upset because, like we always say, your mileage may vary. So on the Chase Sapphire Reserve, for example, previously there was a $550 annual fee and I was getting the full value of a $300 travel credit based on my own spending habits, so my effective annual fee here was easily brought down to at least $250 per year. However, I was also occasionally taking advantage of the $10 per month Lyft credit, but I wasn't using Lyft every single month, so that was maybe another $40 in value for me each year, and then I pretty much never used DoorDash, so any credits or value there is worthless to me personally. That means that my effective net out-of-pocket cost on the Sapphire Reserve before the recent changes was around $210 per year, but now after all these changes go into effect for me, the new $795 annual fee is going to be partially offset by the same $300 travel credit, and then I'll also get the full value of the new $300 dining credit, which is going to be broken up into $150 every 6 months at select restaurants that I know I'll go to in my normal spending habits. There's also a $500 credit for the Edit, which is a hotel program from Chase, and that's split up into $250 every 6 months, which I anticipate I'll likely use at least one of those per year, so I'm only going to count $250 in potential value. And then there's a $300 StubHub credit split up into $150 every 6 months that I'll use at least once for $150 back to go to a Phillies, an Eagles, or a Sixers game like I normally use StubHub for. My wife also has a Peloton membership that's going to get us $10 back per month for another $120 in value per year. And then just like before with the Lyft credits, I know I'm going to use some of those throughout the year for around $40 back in value. There's a bunch of other credits in there as well that probably don't really fit too well into what I'm spending my money on right now personally, so again, I'm not going to count those, but that is going to be $1,160 in value that I'm expecting to offset my $795 annual fee, which gives me an effective annual fee of minus $365 per year. Even if I don't use one of those credits for the Edit for $250, I'm still going to be coming out well ahead of this new annual fee. But again, this is just how the math works out for my own spending habits only, and I'm not really trying to tell you that this is going to work out for you. I actually think these credits and other changes to the CSR are going to be bad for the majority of people, and I do expect a lot of people to be dissatisfied as existing cardholders, so that's why it's going to be also very important to know your options. In this case, with the Chase Sapphire Reserve, your options would be to keep, downgrade, or cancel. So if you don't want to keep the card, then your next best option is going to be to downgrade or basically product change into something like the $95 per year Sapphire Preferred or the no annual fee, Freedom Flex, or Freedom Unlimited. If you're not happy with the Capital One Venture X, then you might look to see if you're going to be able to downgrade to the Venture or Venture One card. And if you're also not happy with the new Amex Platinum changes, once that card eventually does get updated, then you can go ahead and product change to the less expensive gold or green cards. Downgrading or product changing like that is going to be a good solution many times because it sort of allows you to keep the same exact account open if you have a lot of good credit history with that account. But sometimes canceling the card might be what you want to do, which can be fine as well, as long as you just understand the impact of what that might be to your credit score, because everyone's situation is going to be different. However, before you ever cancel a credit card, make sure you ask to see if there's any retention offers available, because I do suspect that certain issuers might anticipate a lot of cancellations with all these card updates. And sometimes when that happens, they might be willing to give out statement credits or credit card points to help retain customers a bit. This is very much another your mileage may vary type of thing, and some issuers are going to be better than others when it comes to this stuff. But the main takeaway that I want people to have here is to never marry a specific credit card when it comes to your wallet. We've seen that issuers can change up these credit cards in an instant without your approval, to the point where the updated card might be very different to the initial product you got approved for. So being able to adapt and react to these changes is kind of unfortunately just the reality of using premium credit cards these days. If you're frustrated with any of these recent changes, the good news is you can sort of let the credit card companies know by essentially just voting with your dollars and bringing your business to any other credit cards they offer or to other issuers entirely. But if you were thinking about being a new customer for one of these credit cards before these changes went into effect and now you're second guessing it, I want you to also think about the second thing you could do to fight back against these changes, which is to factor in sign-up bonuses. If there was ever a silver lining to when a premium credit card goes through a massive update, it's that there's usually a massive sign-up bonus that goes along with that update. For example, right now we're seeing offers of up to 175,000 points after meeting spending requirements on the Amex Platinum card, which could go up if Amex decides to increase the annual fee later this year, which rumors suggest they will. And we're also seeing a limited time offer of 100,000 points plus a $500 Chase travel credit on the Sapphire Reserve after meeting those spending requirements. These sign-up bonuses can typically give you enough upside value to justify getting pretty much any credit card out there for at least 1 year to sort of test the waters with it. And then again, after that first year, if you decide that it's not worth it anymore, then you could just go ahead and make some changes by knowing your options. However, I also want to say that you don't need to let a great sign-up bonus on a recently updated card that might be difficult to manage distract you from a good sign-up bonus on a card that's going to be much easier and more stress-free to have. So to me, I would definitely start telling people to look more at cards like the $95 per year Chase Sapphire Preferred, which is now offering 75,000 points after meeting the spend requirements. Or there's also a few other $95 per year cards like the Capital One Venture card and the City Strata Premier that offer 75K and 60K points respectively, again after spending requirements. And that leads me to the third thing to do when fighting back against all these fee increases and changes, and that is to focus more on these mid-tier travel cards that I think are going to become much more appealing to most people when you compare them to the more expensive older siblings that are going to be more prone to credit card fatigue. Aside from having good welcome offers for low annual fees, these credit cards are still going to give you access to transfer partners, and many of them can actually be combined with other cards from the same issuer to create these duo and trifecta setups. Those setups are going to earn points at better rates than the ultra premium cards can. Mid-tier travel cards around the $95 annual fee range might lack some of the benefits like airport lounge access and access to other luxury experiences or events, but you can still get stuff like primary auto rental coverage on the Sapphire Preferred, a credit for global entry or TSA pre-check on the Venture card, or 3x spending multipliers that cover much more everyday spend categories on the Strata Premier. Now, as for what I'm doing, I'm going to be holding steady for right now with all three of these premium travel cards with the Chase Sapphire Reserve, the Capital One Venture X, and the Amex Platinum card because my wife and I have all three of these within our two-player strategy. My Sapphire Reserve card renews in late April or early May of 2026, so my new $795 annual fee is not going to kick in until then, even though I am going to have access to all the other new credits and benefits on this card starting at the end of October in 2025, so I can go ahead and sort of just test out this card for about 5 months to see what kind of value it gives me and if it's tracking with what I was estimating from earlier. For the Venture X card that my wife has, yes, we are going to be losing free guest access and authorized user access to Capital One airport lounges starting in February of 2026, but honestly, that doesn't really impact us all that much, and the Venture X itself still makes a ton of sense with the way the $395 annual fee is offset by the travel credit and the anniversary bonus on that card each year. I anticipate the Capital One is probably going to devalue this card even more at some point in the future, so we'll just go ahead and reevaluate that if and when that happens. And then if I was going to make any changes to our setup, I might honestly start by cutting my Amex Platinum card after I see what they do with the update later this year. My Platinum card has been getting used less and less lately, and so have all the credits that it comes with when I take a look at my normal spending habits. And now that we have a Chase Sapphire lounge in my home city of Philadelphia that in my opinion is the nicest credit card lounge in the country that we have access to with free guests as well, to me, Amex is gonna have to do something really, really special here to make me not get rid of my Platinum card. My wife and I are also kind of just seeing where life takes us over the next 1 to 2 years, so we're traveling a lot right now, but that could slow down in the future. And if that happens, then I would expect that our lifestyle could call for more of a hybrid credit card setup with some travel credit cards and some cashback cards as well. We're already kind of doing some cashback stuff when it makes sense for certain cards that we like to use, like the Discover It card. And then for any of our current travel credit cards that have an annual fee, we just like to run our numbers on each of those cards every single year when deciding whether they're giving us enough value to keep it in our setup. If a certain credit card just doesn't feel like it fits into my life, then I'll definitely get rid of it. And if any of these recently updated cards feels like they're eventually not working out 1 year or many years down the line, then I have no problem adjusting my feelings towards those cards and getting rid of them as well. Now, I try to be completely honest about how I feel about each credit card that I personally use. So if you want to see me go ahead and rank all 26 of my cards based on what I actually get the most value from, then make sure to go ahead and check out this video over here next. But as always, thanks so much for watching.